This CACFP Meal Pattern webinar on the CACFP Meal Pattern Overview was presented on January 16, 2019, and presented to a center sponsor audience. The version you are currently viewing has been edited and shortened from the original.
Welcome to this Meal Pattern Success webinar on the CACFP Meal Pattern Overview. So this session is meant for sponsors and providers who may be new to the CACFP or anyone who may want a quick review of meal pattern requirements, including who it serves, the meals and snacks that may be reimbursed, and the meal components that are required. Near the end of the session, we'll take a quick tour of some of our resources that we have available. First, let's take a quick poll to see who is on the line. Our question is, how long have you been involved with CACFP? And remember, involvement with CACFP can mean a lot of different things. You might have been running your site CACFP program for a while, or you may have been a cook in the program, or maybe you were even a teacher who also served CACFP meals at your site. So CACFP stands for the Child and Adult Food Care Program. And true to its name, it serves children and adults all across the nation. The purpose of the CACFP is to provide requirements and guidelines to promote healthy meals and promote wellness through reimbursing meals that provide good nutrition. Many people think of CACFP as a program for young children, and while the vast majority of our participants are children in daycare centers or family daycare homes, CACFP serves all age groups from infancy through seniors. We have several different age groups, and each age group has different requirements. Here are the different age groups on the screen. There are two age groups in the infant meal pattern, the 0 to 5 months, the 6 to 11 month age group, and those are the two in the infant pattern. And then on the child's first birthday, they age into the 12 to 23 month age group. It's also known as the 1 to 2 year olds. After that, there is the 3 to 5 year olds, and then the 6 to 12 year olds. The 13 to 18 year old age group is new, and it's meant for the after school at-risk program. And lastly, we have the adult age group, which is meant for adult participants taking part in adult daycare centers. In this training, we'll be focusing primarily on the child and adult meal patterns only. If you do have participants that are under 1 year old and you want more information on the infant meal pattern, look at the webinar schedule and look for our infant-specific trainings. In addition to different requirements based on age group, there are different requirements based on meal type. For breakfast in the child and adult care meal pattern, a grain component, a fruit or vegetable component, and a fluid milk component are required for a reimbursable meal. Looking on the screen, you can see a sample breakfast with portion sizes for the 3 to 5 year old age group. For lunch or supper, fluid milk, fruit, grain, meat or meat alternate, and a vegetable component are required for a reimbursable meal. On the screen, you can see a sample lunch or supper with portion sizes for the 1 to 2 year old age group. And at snack, 2 components are required. This can be any 2 components out of the fluid milk, meat or meat alternate, fruit, vegetable, or grains components. On the screen, you can see a reimbursable snack for the 6 to 12 and 13 to 18 age groups. No matter the age group, the maximum number of meals and snacks that can be reimbursed each day are 2 meals and 1 snack, or 2 snacks and 1 meal per participant. For a detailed list of all requirements for each age group by meal or snack, take a look at the meal pattern chart. On the screen, you can see the child meal pattern chart for the 4 age groups. We also have a meal pattern chart for adult and an infant meal pattern chart. In each of these charts, you'll see the component requirements for each meal or snack and the portion size requirements by age group. So let's go over each of the components in a little bit more detail. Fluid milk is a component that must be served at breakfast, lunch, and supper in both the child and adult meal patterns. For snack, it is optional and can be one of the two components served. Infants are not served cow's milk, but instead must be offered breast milk or iron-fortified infant formula in order to meet their nutritional needs. Once a child is 1 year old, however, they must be served whole milk until they turn 2, and at 2, the participant must be served unflavored 1% or fat-free milk. There are 2 short transition periods. The first is for children who are 12 to 13 months old, and during this time, children may be served breast milk, iron-fortified infant formula, or whole milk, or a combination. Breast milk is allowed for children of all ages, so may be served past 13 months. The second transition period is for children 24 to 25 months old, when they may be served either whole milk, 2%, 1%, or fat-free milk, since we know that transitioning from whole milk to 1% or fat-free may be difficult. Participants 6 years old and older and adults may be served unflavored or flavored 1% or fat-free milk as well. You might have previously heard that flavored milk must be fat-free to be creditable, but on July 1st, 2018, a rule went into effect allowing more flexibility when it comes to flavored milk, and it expanded flavored milk options to either 1% or fat-free milk. Remember, though, that flavored milk is allowed only for children 6 years old and older and adults. There are a few small differences in the adult meal pattern when it comes to fluid milk. For adult daycare sponsors who might be on the line, please refer to the CACFP Policies and Procedures Manual, Chapter 21, or you can take the Adult Meal Pattern webinar this summer on June 27, 2019. Vegetables are now their own component and are required at lunch and supper. In the breakfast meal pattern, it's still combined with fruits, meaning that you can serve either fruits or vegetables at breakfast. The vegetable and fruit components are also combined in the infant meal pattern at all meals and snacks. For lunch or supper, however, a serving of vegetables must be served. Vegetables are optional at snack and can be served as one of the 2 required components. Fruits are very similar to vegetables. Again, a serving of fruit is required at lunch and supper. But one interesting thing about the fruits component at lunch and supper is that it can be substituted with a vegetable. For example, instead of serving carrots with an apple for the vegetable and fruit component, you can replace the apple with broccoli for 2 vegetable components. When substituting a vegetable for the fruit component, the second vegetable must be different than the first. For example, you can't serve steamed carrots and raw carrots, but you can serve steamed carrots and celery. Substituting the fruit component with the vegetable component at lunch or supper is allowed because we know that most people don't eat enough vegetables each day, and the flexibility allows more vegetables to be served. Again, fruits and vegetables are a combined component at breakfast, and so you can serve either a vegetable or a fruit or both at breakfast time. At snack time, fruits are optional, but they can be served as one of the 2 components. There may be times when you want to serve combination foods that include both fruits and vegetables. Remember that any mixtures of vegetables or fruits must contain at least an 1/8 cup of both the vegetables and the fruit in order for the mixture to be credited towards those components. For example, a mango spinach salad will need to have at least an 1/8 cup of mango in order for the mango to be counted toward the fruit component. If you don't have an 1/8 cup of mango in the salad, you can still count the spinach toward the vegetable component as long as you have at least an 1/8 cup of crediting for the spinach. Remember that spinach is a leafy green, and because it has a lot of volume, it will only credit for half of its volume. Generally, an 1/8 cup will not be enough fruits and vegetables for lunch or supper when you're serving older age groups. So if you're only crediting an 1/8 cup of either the fruit or vegetable, remember to supplement with additional fruits and vegetables to make up a full serving of each component. As always, all combination foods should have a recipe on file if you're creating the combination food on site, or you need to make sure you have a product formulation statement if you're buying items pre-made from the store or from your vendor. The purpose of a recipe or product formulation statement is so that you know exactly how much each serving of the combination food will credit towards each component. One last note about fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables may be served in juice form as long as it's 100% juice. Juice cocktails are not allowed. 100% juice can only be served once per day maximum. This means that if you serve juice at your morning snack, you can't serve juice at lunchtime. You will want to be careful if you serve juice frequently on your menu, because if you serve juice more than once per day, the lowest reimbursed meal or snack could be disallowed. One thing also to consider, if you serve smoothies at all, any fruits or vegetables that are pureed into a smoothie would be considered juice and would be counted towards the once per day juice limit. So moving on to grains. A serving of grains must be served at breakfast, lunch, and supper in the child meal pattern. To allow more flexibility, you can substitute grains with the meat alternate component at breakfast for up to 3 times a week. As with all components, grains are optional at snack and can be served as one of the 2 required components. Before serving your menu, make sure that all grains served are creditable and that at least once per day, you're serving a grain item that is whole grain rich. If all the grains served must be creditable, what does it mean to be a creditable grain? There's so many different grain options out there on the marketplace, it may seem like a complicated task to choose a creditable grain. For CACFP, a creditable grain is one of the following: whole grain meals and flours, enriched grains, bran, or germ. Now, if you serve meals under other child nutrition programs, please note that bran or germ is considered a creditable grain in CACFP only. Whole grains are grains that include the bran, germ, and endosperm, while enriched grains are grains that have had the bran and germ removed, but have had vitamins and minerals added back in. They are often labeled as enriched, or they might be a food product where the first ingredient on the food list is labeled as enriched, or the grain might be listed with a sublist of vitamins and minerals that are used to enrich it, such as iron, folic acid, niacin, or thiamine. Fortified breakfast cereals are also considered creditable grains. As long as the breakfast is fortified with vitamins and minerals and it meets the sugar limit, it's creditable. Again, to make sure that all your grain products are creditable before serving them as part of a reimbursable meal or snack, it's important, and it means that your grain products must be in one of the 5 categories listed on the screen. There are a lot of creditable grains out there, but there are also other grains out there that are not creditable for CACFP. These non-creditable grains include grains that are not enriched or whole grain. For example, you might find white rice in the grocery store. If it doesn't say enriched in the ingredient list, then it's a non-creditable grain. These non-creditable grains are processed so that they remove all the healthy vitamins, minerals, and fiber, and do not include any added vitamins and minerals to make up for the nutrients that are lost. Other common non-creditable grains include farina, non-enriched pasta, and non-enriched cornmeal or corn masa. Some grain items are not creditable no matter how many vitamins and minerals are added to them. These are grains that are not allowed by category, and may include grain-based desserts and breakfast cereals with more than 6 grams of sugar per dry ounce. These limitations are meant to reduce the amount of sugar in a CACFP reimbursable meal. Grain-based desserts include such items as granola bars, cereal bars, cakes, cookies, sweet rolls, and toaster pastries. There is a handy chart titled Exhibit A that shows whether a grain item is considered a grain-based dessert. In addition, breakfast cereals with more than 6 grams of sugar per dry ounce are also not allowed. We have resources that can help you to figure out if your breakfast cereal exceeds the sugar limit, including the WIC breakfast cereal list and the breakfast cereal sugar limit chart. So here is what Exhibit A looks like. This can be downloaded from the ODE CACFP Meal Pattern and Menu Planning webpage. In this chart, you have categories of grain items, and the items that are listed in red will be considered grain-based desserts and not creditable. Any item listed in blue or black is not considered a grain-based dessert. An easy way to figure out if your breakfast cereals are within the sugar limit requirements is by checking out the Oregon WIC cereal list shown on the right side of the screen. Breakfast cereals on the WIC cereal list are all below the sugar limit threshold because all WIC cereals meet the same sugar limit requirement. If the cereal is not on the WIC cereal list, then you'll want to use the sugar limit wallet card seen on the left side of the screen. Match the serving size on the nutrition facts label to the amount of sugar and see if it's below that number on the right-hand column of the card. If it's at or below, then it's creditable. If it's higher, it's not creditable. Remember that non-creditable grains may not be served in CACFP as part of a reimbursable meal. If your grain is creditable, then you'll want to check if it's also whole grain rich. Whole grain rich grains are grains that contain at least 50% whole grains, with the remaining grains in the food enriched. At least one serving of grains per day must be whole grain rich. This means that if you're serving breakfast, lunch, and snack, all the grains you serve that day must be creditable, but only one of the grain items served must be whole grain rich. So if you serve whole grain rich toast at breakfast, your grain at lunch and any grains you might serve at snack only need to be creditable. So that could be enriched crackers or enriched pastas. As a best practice, we do recommend that all grains served are whole grain rich, but whole grain rich items are only required once per day. In order to figure out if your grain is whole grain rich, there are 6 different methods you can use, and these methods are listed out in the grains flowchart. Most of the time, it'll be easy to figure out if your item is whole grain rich. But if you're having trouble figuring out if your item is creditable, you can use the grains flowchart. The first page has a step-by-step flowchart that helps you determine if the item you have is creditable or not. Remember that all grains used as part of a CACFP reimbursable meal or snack must be creditable. If it is creditable, there's the second and third page, which has a flowchart to help you determine if your item is also whole grain rich. This flowchart may look complicated, but it's just a series of yes or no questions that take you through all 6 methods for determining whether a grain item is whole grain rich. If you're having trouble answering a question, there's tips in the blue boxes that will help you determine which way to go. If you'd like a little more help, the definitions of whole grain rich and the 6 different methods you can use to determine whether your item is whole grain rich or not is listed on the back page of the grains flowchart handout. For more information on using the flowchart and figuring out whether your grain products are whole grain rich or not, take the webinars on using the grains flowchart, and the next one will be available on Wednesday, March 6th. Finally, we have our last component, which is the meat and meat alternate component. This component is required at lunch and supper. Like the other components, it's optional at snack and may be served as one of the 2 required components. Meat or meat alternates are not required at breakfast, but may be substituted for the grains component up to 3 times a week. When substituting for the grains component, you would substitute 1 ounce of meat or meat alternate for 1 ounce of required grain. The meat and meat alternates component primary nutrient is protein, and because of that, only lean meats will be counted under the meat category. This includes beef, pork, poultry, and fish. Meat alternates can include cheese, eggs, cooked dry beans and peas, nuts, seeds, yogurt, including soy yogurt, and tofu that has 5 grams of protein per 2.2 ounce of weight. Creditable yogurts include soy yogurt, but not cashew yogurt or coconut yogurt. For cow's milk or soy yogurt to be creditable, they also must meet the sugar limit requirement of having no more than 23 grams of total sugar per 6 ounces of yogurt. You can use the CACFP sugar limit wallet card shown on the screen to figure out what the threshold is for different sizes of yogurt. Remember that different flavors may have different sugar content, so if you purchase a box of mixed flavors, make sure that all of the flavors meet the sugar limit requirements. One additional area where we do see some confusion is with the portion size for crediting yogurt as a meat alternate. 4 ounces of yogurt will credit for 1 ounce of meat alternate. For a 3 to 5-year-old child who needs 1.5 ounces of meat alternate for lunch, they'll need 6 ounces of yogurt for a full serving. Some common non-creditable meat or meat alternates include bacon, which is more fat than lean meat, homemade yogurt, which is a safety risk, frozen yogurt, drinkable yogurt, yogurt-flavored products, and yogurt-covered fruits and nuts, all of which do not have sufficient protein per serving. Cheese products and imitation cheeses, which also do not contain sufficient protein and include excess saturated fats, non-creditable as well. So since we didn't have time today in our 30-minute webinar to cover all the ins and outs of the CACFP meal pattern, you may need to find more resources down the line to help you perfect your menus. On the screen is the CACFP meal pattern and menu planning page, which is a repository for all meal pattern related information. So to get to the page, you want to go ahead and pull up your preferred web browser and type in the search of Oregon Child Nutrition Program. The Child and Adult Care Food Program page will be one of the top hits. So you'll click on that link and then you'll see a list of options. You'll click on the one titled CACFP Meal Pattern and Menu Planning. So this is the page. On this page, you'll find links to memos, trainings, meal pattern charts, and other resources. And I would highly recommend that once you reach the page, you bookmark it so that you can reference it in the future. On the left-hand side are resources. You can see our meal pattern charts. And the resources further down can be downloaded and used later. You can see here Exhibit A, which is what we talked about earlier, and a link to the CACFP sugar limit wallet card, which we discussed. So all of these resources are here for you on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side are external links to other organizations, including USDA resources that may be helpful to you. You can see here under standardized recipes, we have USDA's Mixing Bowl, What's Cooking, which is recipes, as well as the USDA recipes for childcare institutes. We have some other resources from other external sources, such as other state agencies. And if you have any questions about these resources, please feel free to contact your assigned specialist for more information. To recap, today we looked at the meal pattern, including who it serves, what's required for meals and snacks, and we took a really quick look at the requirements for each meal component. Finally, we took a brief tour of the CACFP meal pattern webpage.